Welcome to Come Well to Am I as I Am, As You Are. Visit asyouare.com today and purchase your products, book our services and consultations, and enroll in the classes and courses. Visit asyouare.com today. Now, without further ado, let's begin today's show. Quick announcement. The first 10 students to enroll in the classes and courses on the website receive 3 free products for a total of $70 free. The first product is Crystal Clear. The second product is Urban Love. And the third product is Spray. 3 free products upon enrollment. Also, each student receives 1 ring upon graduation. 1 ring upon graduation. Rings made of stone and crystal. Those receive a $40 discount if paid in advance. Full price if paid into payments. Come take your consciousness and your spirituality to the next level. Now let's begin today's show. Yes. Welcome to Come Well to another episode, another doorway, another show, another portal entitled Am I as I Am, As You Are. Today's video is entitled The Value of Relationship Communication. The value of relationship communication. I'm going to touch upon a few quick points, and because there is a very high value to knowing how to communicate to your loved one or the one who is loved by you. This as well is not just about just intimate relationships, but this is also about mastering your heart, mastering the divine feminine in your heart. This is also a part of the ancient mystery system as well, believe it or not. The ancient mystery system called the Sematawi from the Humnecheret. This is talking about ancient Kemet, ancient Nubia, as well as over here in the Soyu too as well, dealing with the priesthood of the She people. The She is the ancient pronunciation of what we know as the Olmec or the Mayan, the She people, XI. Our ancient priesthood called the Akin-Me. So as much as it's over there across the continent of Africa, it was over here as well, underneath our feet, of the Amaru. And mastering communication. Like I tell you and I tell everybody I come amongst, including my students, people I bump into that I want to build on certain things, certain times. A relationship is the best school you can be in. Intimate relationship, to be exact, because your partner, your significant other, your reflection, your other half, your creation is the only one that you give access to affect, is the only person who has the possibility to affect you psychologically and emotionally. Mind, body. Your mate. The mastering of communication is the mastering of Sematawi, the mastering of the heart. This brings you deeper. They say the most deepest mystics are the ones who master their heart. In order to master your heart, you have to know how to communicate on many different levels. In whatever emotional field you may be in whatever present mental field you may be in or mental state, You have to know how to convey this to the one that you love without tarnishing the connection. Okay, let's dive right into it. So today's video is entitled, I'm pretty sure it's going to be entitled, The Value of Relationship Communication, if I could fit that title in there. The first doorway is, communication is more important than presence within an intimate relationship. Communication is more important than presence in an intimate relationship. Communication determines the depth of a connection, the depth between two lovers, as well as the longevity of that union. Presence just validates that a connection is present, but doesn't necessarily confirm any definition to it or description about it. Like a coloring book without color. Whereas communication puts color in the coloring book and gives the connection a specific dimension. So communication determines the depth and the longevity between you and your loved one. Whereas presence, you're just in front of her, or you're just around him, it doesn't determine depth nor longevity. It just means that you're present. You're in front of them. But what's the use of being in front of somebody if there's no talking or communication being held? Does it mean anything? Somebody says, I'm there for you, I'm there for you, I'm there for you. There for you just determines that they're there and your presence. It doesn't give it any depth. It doesn't give it any dimension. It doesn't determine any kind of longevity. If anything, it determines short term. This is why people that don't talk inevitably, ultimately, eventually lose that connection. So you have to know how to talk in whatever mental state that you're in, whatever emotional state that you're in. You have to be able to know how to convey what you're feeling and what you're thinking in that moment with the one that you love. It's very important. Next doorway. Everything communicates. Communication is community unification. So it unifies a community. It unites a community. If you and your mate don't know how to communicate, that is not a community. The word community is connected to the word communicate, because people are communicating in an environment and an atmosphere. A community determines the growth of a civilization. This is why people that don't communicate sooner or later become uncivilized around each other, because there's no community between her and him or him and her. Communication, when broken down, is community unification. Everything is a form of communication. Yes, including presence, stillness, and silence. But verbal communication determines movement, growth, development, and evolution. This is what verbal communication determines. Movement, growth, development, and evolution between two people of a love union. Communication is everywhere. Communication is constantly happening. Now, these are just two umbrellas or two examples of things that are communicating constantly. One example is nature. Such things as branches swaying in the winds, Winds rustling through the leaves is a form of communication. Branches swaying in the winds is a form of communication. Insects walking, you're hearing leaves crickling, is a form of communication. Animals talking, of course, is a form of communication. Waves in the water hitting the shore is a form of communication, as well as water hitting rocks and stones along the shore and within the ocean and rivers is a form of communication. Nature is constantly communicating to you, so it's only natural to know how to communicate on whatever terrain that you and your loved one are on in that moment. So these are the determining flaws, atmospheres, environments that just a noise, any kind of noise is a form of communication. As you can see, anything and everything is communicating with each other. Whether it's communicating with itself, as it communicates with itself, which nature is, it's also communicating to you. And the second example is weather. Rain is a form of communication, or raindrops is a form of communication. Snow falling is a form of communication. Thunder is a form of communication. Lightning is a form of communication. Breeze is a form of communication, as well as what we touched upon before, wind is a form of communication. This is why you can hear like strong wind sometimes when it's coming through your window or it's outside, and you can hear it. It sounds like it's whistling. It sounds like it's whispering. It sounds like it's talking to you, trying to convey a certain message to you. And yes, it is spiritual. It sounds like actual voices. And I know a lot of y'all experienced that before, coming through your window, hitting your shades, your blinds. You hear these noises, and you know it's wind, you know it's a breeze, you know it's storming outside, you know it's raining outside, it's coming down outside. Or it may just be clear skies and just very windy, very strong wind, very strong breeze, and it sounds like a spirit is whispering to you. It sounds like it's saying something to you. It's a high whistle or high tone, high pitched sounds. It's a form of communication. This shows the importance of communication, not only with things around you, but with you and your loved one. Communication is everywhere. Therefore, it's very important, according to this path and this gnosis, to learn how to communicate with the one that you love as much as possible. For the very fact that you have a voice box, your biology alone, besides the points in this video, tell you the importance and relevance and mandatorium of communication. Nature is always communicating to itself, with itself, and within itself. This alone shows not only the importance of communication, but the relevance of communication, as well as communication being a primal intelligence amongst and within all things. Next doorway. Myers, how often should mates communicate? How often should mates communicate? Daily verbal communication between two lovers signifies consistency, continuation, and the true value of that intimate relationship. Yes, daily communication, and if not daily, every other day or that second day. Communication should not go past one day. It should not go past the sun and the moon cycle. a solar and lunar cycle. Daily verbal communication between two lovers signifies consistency, continuation, and the true value of an intimate relationship. So daily communication can increase the value of the consistency and the continuum or continuation, the longevity of that connection. It can enhance the value, no matter how the communication is. And whatever state that you're in, whatever psychological, emotional, whatever, you are learning each other's communication. You're learning how to talk to each other. You're also learning how to talk, how to verbalize yourself no matter what mental state or emotional state that you may be in. Verbal communication means a discussion based on a respectful exchange of listen, then speak, speak, then listen. This specific interaction of trade and exchange supports alleviation and buoyancy of an experience. Buoyancy is being light-footed, light-hearted, light-minded. Making the experience a fair exchange of respect for another and self-respect, as well as self-respect. Respect for another and self-respect. That's what this specific interaction of trade and exchange supports. Making the experience a fair exchange of respect for another, as well as your own self-respect. And in both mirroring respects, the shared love becomes enhanced, evolved, as well as stronger. Also to keep in mind and heart, Kima, how many ways are you communicating with your loved one? How many ways are you communicating with your loved one? Because since we have a crown chakra and a root chakra, or crown sakra and a root sakra, communication and root, or because we have, well, basically there should be crown communication as well as root communication, meaning verbal communication as well as sexual communication, because both are a form of communication. Because when both locations become or are being communicative and become communicated with, the more whole being becomes, the more the whole being, which is both of y'all individually, the more the whole being and the beingness becomes content with the experience. So yeah, the more the whole being becomes content with its experience and with the experience. Being in this specific space of dialogue with each other, your aura begins to imbue within the theta and the delta state wave. You and her, or you and him, become what is known as twin sentient intelligence. So when the wholeness or the whole being, the crown and the root, become interactive and communicative with each other, you become the whole being. The more you are a whole being imbuing its auric states, the more you go into something, you shift the mode, a wave that goes into twin sentient intelligence. Twin sentient intelligence is also, you synthesize basically into the anahata, which is the heart, the centering of the heart, the core center intelligence of the heart. You become this sentient being, this nano-sentient twin intelligence of each other. You both are diving deep into each other's heart, not you into hers, but her into her own, and him into his own. And in that diving, there is a twinning intelligence. The depths that you guys meet within each other's heart, you meet at those depths. You begin to synthesize. This can also be known as hadith, which was known as from a people called the Sufis, of something known as Sufism. So not only are you anchoring yourself in each other's heart, but you're anchoring yourself in your own heart, in your own depth, in your own love dimension. This is how one falls in love. Falling in love is not you falling in love with her or her falling in love with you. It's you falling inside of your own love dimension. It's an actual dimension, an actual realm, and an actual plane of a vibrating existence. Literally. And it's in a theta and a delta state. Deep relaxation, deep restoration. And in that, you begin to play on the beta state, which is the state of creativity. This is when you guys become creative. But the highest states are theta and delta. Delta being the highest, underneath delta is theta. Also to keep in mind is that theta and delta is the planes or the brain waves or the brain states, the states or the waves that one utilizes their manifesting capabilities. Literally. So you guys being in love, you can also, the love is also the practicing of manifestation. So it's not just love with each other, but if you also want to enhance or begin to play with your manifesting qualities, be in love within yourself. As she's diving in her heart, you're diving in your heart, you meet at these depths. And since you two are connected, you both reach the same floor and become unified within each other, individually as well as collectively and connectively. Okay. The next doorway is Amayas. What are relationships based on then? Relationships are dual dynamics based on connect and reflect. Relationships are dual dynamics based on connect and reflect. Not expect and then deflect. Because when you expect and you don't receive, you begin to deflect. So it's not based on expect, it's based on connect. And it's not based on deflect, it's based on reflect. There's a huge difference, between these two explainings and these two understandings. To connect and reflect is spiritual. It supports spiritual self-reflection and one's self-awareness, respecting each other's self-reflecting experience and self-aware experience without becoming a disturbance or nuisance or interference to the other within each other. No, so it's respecting is doing your own self-reflection as well as respecting the other self-reflection. Because being of a spiritual accordance, spirituality is coexistence. Knowing how to coexist is knowing how to communicate. Even silence and stillness is a form of communication. Very powerful as well. It's different from just presence. Silence and stillness is different than presence. It's different than presence. Presence is like, it's like a dummy or a mannequin kind of in front of you. But there's a certain kind of cord that's plucked, A silent divine chord that's plucked, that is an acknowledged state or state of acknowledgement of each other in silence and in stillness, especially if both of you guys are being silent and still, but the love is felt, the connection is met. You know, the connection is there. The infusion is present. You are acknowledging each other in silence. You are acknowledging each other in stillness. There's a mastery even in that, for sure. The next doorway. Are you absent in your relationship, or are you present in your relationship? Keep this in mind, Kima and heart. Emotional absence from either party can cause a disturbance. Can cause a disturbance, schism, or glitch in the system of union. In the system of union, two parties are trying to create and build because communication, honesty, and authenticity becomes missing. Emotional absence from either party can cause a disturbance, schism, or glitch in the system of a union between two parties that are trying to create and build. If emotional absence is present or is absent, honesty and authenticity becomes missing between the two. Something to keep in mind and heart. The one who is emotionally absent should make it their respective responsibility to communicate and interact more with the one who isn't emotionally absent, because signals get picked up in silence and energies are sensed in silence. And if that silence isn't addressed, explained, or provided clarity, curiosity, unreliability, and instability automatically will begin to rise. Therefore, distance and absence will begin to naturally occur. These are for ones who can become emotionally absent because emotionality is one of the major crazy glue or gluing factors, the most strongest adhesive between a love union of two parties. Emotional connection. Emotion says, I'm still here. I still care about you. I still love you. There is love here. But emotional absence is like the example of just being present. But emotional presence means a silent and still respective connection is still present. The connection is still there. The adhesive is still there. The infusion is still present. When emotional presence is present, but emotional absence can begin to create a certain kind of rot, corrode, deterioration, rigor mortis within a body that two people are creating. A body of love, a body of connection. This body can begin to corrode, rot, go through stages of rigor mortis, and eventually begin to eat itself. And nobody is left there. This is how two people can split. There's no more body. They were building a body of love, but then now the body begins to die off because the emotion is not present. So for those of you who may be emotionally absent or still working on your or enhancing your emotional capabilities, that's very important to begin to address within self and begin to verbalize it at certain times. Conquer yourself. You may not know how to verbalize or articulate certain things certain times, or begin to learn how to do this because your mate can feel it, whether you know it or not. They can sense that, whether you know it or not. They can detect that, whether you know it or not. And they may begin to feel distant from you, and then space will begin. and then time will set in. This is how you guys go for longer and longer periods without talking. It can be for minutes, then it turns into hours, and it turns into days, and it may turn into a week. You'd be around each other not saying a damn thing, or weeks. One can feel when a union is strong, especially between flames or twinnings, what you may call soulmates, even though a soul don't need a mate, but I understand in what context it's understood. The adhesive, that glue, becomes kind of watery. It doesn't stay when the emotion isn't present. And trust me, your loved one can feel it. They can sense it. They can detect it. They may not say nothing to you, but they can feel it. And they can sense it. So emotional verbalization is most important. Most important. Because it can begin to affect the psychology of the other. And psychological and emotional connection is very important. But the most strongest important between psychological and emotional is emotional. Emotional is the most strongest gluing component that keeps our relationship together, that begins to connect psychologically, and then communication becomes out. So something very important to keep in mind and keep in heart, keep in mind. The next doorway is intimate relationships are the best schools to begin to understand your internal self, as I mentioned prior to. Intimate relationships are the best schools of self-learning and self-creating. People that watch this video and know me personally, they hear me say this over and over and over and over and over again. I've held plenty of consultations with married people. I touch upon these points. As a matter of fact, the very beginning of my channel was based on me understanding what love was. And not just with intimate relationships, with family, if I had a pet, which I don't, but just even with animals, with nature. What is this love thing? How do I define it? How do I describe it? What is it about? Why is it here? Why does it even exist? This is the very beginning of my path and the very beginning of my very first videos. If you go back, if you go on my channel and you click on videos and you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you're going to see all my very first videos, a lot of my videos. The beginning of my videos on this channel, I go deep into the love aspect. This is why my book is on Amazon. My book is in thriftbooks.com. As well as Barnes & Noble, so on and so forth. It's called As You Are. The subtitle is entitled Incorporating Principles Within Intimate Relationships, or something like that. Acknowledging principles, or something like that, within personal, intimate relationships. This was the very beginning of my path. And I wasn't a pro at it. I wasn't a professional. I wasn't an expert at it. Nobody is. And, you know, I went through, you know, a little bit of mud, a little bit of water, of most people not really understanding me and what I was doing and the path that I was on. And, you know, of course, we're going to go through things in relationships. Like I said, nobody's a professional. Nobody's a pro at it. Nobody's an expert at this. But I was willing to drag myself through the mud to begin to understand certain things. And I started to see things as just straight principle. Whereas I was dealing with a woman or women who were personal. You know, the I am is feminine, masculine. I is very personal. I. Am is masculine, which is impersonal. I was dealing with the am, but I was amongst the I. But in order to understand the I had to be my amness. And my amness was principle and principality. So I went through experiences where when I began to embrace my amness, my principle and principality being of the masculine nature, you know, went through certain things that I had to understand, okay, well, I have to begin embracing my I. So in my amness, my principality, the I began to appear. the feminine aspect or the goddess began to open inside the heart, and my I just appeared. And then I became the I am. But going through this path in relationships, it wasn't a lot. It was maybe like 3, 2, along my path. Being very impersonal can affect an individual who is hardwired to be personal, which is the female, which is the feminine. But I took myself through the mud, it wasn't perfect. I did a lot of things, but I was just basically being true to my heart, being true to understanding what love was, and willing to put myself through trial and tribulation. And came across many hells as well as came across many heavens. But this is how well, I have my other video too as well, like, it's okay to know your genetic lineage, being a part of this continent, the other continent, that people, this tribe, that culture, this civilization, that's fine. But there's nothing more important than, besides your genetic lineage, the most highest important is knowing your spiritual lineage. This is how I know I'm a part of a deep ancient priesthood. It can be known as a Sufism. It can be known as the Akinme. It can be known as the Agori Sadhu in southern India. It could be known as the Humne Tapi in the continent of Africa. Just different hardcore systems to understand the Kajrij the Kaaba, Elah. There's a lot of different, I know what my spiritual makeup is. I can look in the mirror and see my genetic makeup, my genetic lineage. That's not a big deal. That ain't nothing. You can see exactly who the hell I am. But to understand your spiritual lineage brings you to a more deeper connection within your being. To know, okay, I get what I'm here for. I get what I'm supposed to do. Okay, wow, I gotta go through this. Just certain things to begin to understand. I think one of the videos that touches upon that is what is your genetic lineage and what is your spiritual lineage? Or what is your spiritual lineage before your genetic lineage? One of those titles in my channel. Check that video out when you get a chance. Okay, the next doorway is questions and answers. Answers and questions. It's probably going to be a part 1 to this video. Presence validates spirit, and communication validates the soul. So what kind of connection would you like to acknowledge, strengthen, and enhance with your loved one? The spiritual aspect or the soulful aspect or the solar aspect? What kind of value are you seeking in a connection? What kind of value are you seeking? You want to touch, you want to make contact with your spirit or make contact with your soul. Your soul is the most deepest aspect of your being. It resides in your heart as well as underneath your gastrointestinal tract or underneath the lowest intestine or the smallest intestine. It's a small seed. So these are questions that you may want to ask yourself before approaching a relationship or if you're inside of a relationship or marriage or union or bond with your loved one. Questions to ask yourself, not to ask your mate, ask yourself. What kind of connection would you like to acknowledge, strengthen, and enhance with your loved one and with yourself? What kind of value are you seeking in a connection? Is your heart seeking or is your brain seeking? It's a difference. Are your genitals seeking or are all the above seeking? From the root to the crown, are you seeking completion or are you seeking partiality? That's really kind of important to understand. What are you seeking? It can be the root, it can be the crown. It can be the one in the middle, the heart. Because the heart validates the crown and the root. You could just be seeking sexual expression, which is not really based upon the heart per se. or the crown. You could be seeking just to intellectualize with somebody, somebody to talk to. Or you can be of the heart. You're seeking in the heart. You're walking the shaman, the middle path of the shaman, which means that you're seeking intellectual expression as well as sexual expression to become the whole one. This is the path of the shaman, of the Shah Amen. So, or the Ash Amen, or the Ashala Amen, however you want to take it. What are you seeking? You may just want to have sex with somebody. Okay, fine, let it be known. You may just say, hey, I need somebody to talk to. You may have a lot of stuff on your mind. Let it be known and let it be shown. But when you want intellectual as well as sexual, you are walking the middle path, whether you know it or not. You have to begin to decipher and know these different distinctions of what is seeking within you outward. If it's this seeking outward, then it's actually seeking inward. This seeks outward, this seeks outward. But this seems like it's seeking outward, but it's actually seeking inward itself. It's an inception. It's inverted. This is inverted. But it seems like it's exverted. It's actually inverted. Know these differences. These are all extremely relevant and mandatory questions to begin to ask yourself either before and or during your intimate relationship. For what reason? To provide yourself, as well as the other, as well as what you share, as much clarity, centeredness, and balance as much as possible before the very next moment unfolds. Repeating this practice, you create a self-respect, and self-respect matures into a self-reflect. And then self-reflect graduates into self-awareness. And when self-awareness is activated and remains present, everything from that point forward that comes from your voice and actions comes from a silent monitoring and supervising of your own thoughts and movements towards and around your loved one, making you feel and become more. It makes you feel and become more of a genuine, honest, and authentic being from the inside out, building a strong internal core of existence, animating itself in pure confidence and clarity. Yeah, I know I get kind of wordy. Just rewind it, go back on it again, hear it again. Let it keep ringing in your ear and echoing in your skull. Play it back. Ultimately, you become very self-involved within your own self, while at the same time in acknowledgement, attention, and engagement with your loved one. It becomes a symbiotic relationship of real love, real harmony, as well as coexistence. These are things to begin to ask yourself and understand these things. Self-reflection, self-awareness. These things, you begin to feel more genuine, more honest, and more authentic within your own skin. And the more one feels comfortable within their own skin, the more they can be more transparent around you. They begin to feel their lightness. And this is when enlightenment begins to come in. That lightness, that light-footedness, that light-heartedness is most genuine and most brightest when one becomes enlightened within their own self. They feel more real around you. They don't feel like a prop or a stage dummy or crash dummy around you. They don't feel fake or inauthentic around you. They begin to feel authentic. And you know when somebody feels right in their own body, in their own being, in their own skin, they animate and interact with you a lot more differently, and they feel a lot more comfortable not only around you, but comfortable within their own self. Knowledge of self, know thyself, self-gnosis. Okay, so this is not just about intimate relationships and so on and so forth. This is also about Gnosticism. This is self-gnosis, Sufism. This was a part of the ancient priesthood. They expected you to find an intimate relationship and begin to make the real deep progress in this understanding. This was also a part of the ancient mystery systems, the Samatawi. They followed these understandings. So it wasn't only what the priest taught you or what the hierarchy told you. It was also when you go off on yourself and you create a connection with the loved one, how well will you do? Okay? The next doorway is the negatives and positive energies during interaction. We are all energy terminals composed of negatives and positives, just like a car battery, or a negative terminal and a positive terminal, the wires that go in the car battery. We're all energy terminals, both male and female, masculine and feminine, divine masculine, divine feminine, composed of negatives as well as positives that maintain a certain charge of homeostasis within self for optimal function of self. We're also all composed of absences and presences. And we have to know our own absences and presences that animate and or displays itself amongst a loved one. For example, one may be emotionally absent but expressively present, while the other may be emotionally present but expressively absent. And we must begin to figure out and know through communication and interaction how one's ways may be affecting or nurturing the connection and union. So one can be emotionally absent but expressively present. Like one person can be emotionally absent, but they're still expressively present. And then the other may be emotionally present but expressively absent. You have to know your absences and your presences within self, your own self. Not just what the other person may be expressing or displaying or animating towards you, but you may know this within yourself. What are your own absences? What are your own things with your presence? Because this is affecting and or nurturing the other, and they can feel it, they can see it, they can sense it, they can detect it, whether they mention it, verbalize it, articulate it or not. Especially if the connection and the union is a real one, and especially a divine one, a spiritual one, a solar one. They know, they can feel that. And if it's not verbalized, like I said before, communication, if it's not verbalized by the one that may be affecting or tarnishing that connection, the other one will begin to feel distant. When they feel distant, space happens. When space happens, time expands. And sooner or later, that will just snap. That rubber band will snap. You keep pulling and stretching that rubber band, sooner or later, that rubber band will snap. And that snapping can be people being separated in a relationship, as well as somebody actually snapping or flipping. Like, yo, why you ain't talking to me for? What's the problem? Is there a problem? They may snap in that way. Why are we not talking? Or they may come at you light and respectively and polite, like, you know, hey babe, why are we not talking for? Or is there a reason why you're not talking to me? I mean, you can tell me. You can let me know what's up. There's something on your mind, something on your heart, something heavy on your energy. Let me know. Let's verbalize it. So it can be a different approach depending upon your connection and interaction. So just keep that in mind, keep that in heart, keep in mind. Next doorway. Let me see. We're neither here nor there. This is more metaphysical. Our electrons and atomic nucleus are in a constant state of disappearance and reappearance. This is just our very nature, our very core, our very being. Electrons and atomic nucleuses or atoms. Electrons are in a state of disappearance and reappearance. Atoms are in a state of disappearance and reappearance. So, it is very important to remain in contact and communication either every day or every other day in some way. Why? Because we're constantly moving in and out of this dimension. That's the very reason why our eyes blink. Your eyes are blinking because you're going in and out of this dimension. Your eyes are directly connected to your electrons. Your eyes are directly connected to your atoms. Your atoms and electrons are constantly blinking in and out this dimension, in this dimension, out this dimension, in this dimension, out this dimension, in this dimension, out this dimension, which makes it just that much more important and relative or relevant to keep in mind how very important and mandatory communication is. Just your very nature, besides how you guys interact with each other, just your very nature is constantly disappearing and reappearing in and out of this dimension, in and out of this reality. Just knowing that alone should show the importance and relevance and mandatorium of communication between you and your loved one. See, these little things should show, it should show something very deep and very important, according to this path, according to this gnosis. The next doorway is non-communication. Non-communication are means to an end. A relationship without communication, keep this in mind. It's a pretty good example. Keep this in mind in heart. Keep in mind. A relationship without communication is equivalent to a Chinese woman going out to eat with a Russian man, or a Chinese speaking woman going out to eat with a Russian speaking man. The communication won't connect. The dinner will end early. The connection will fade, and they will no longer be in contact with each other. Keep that in mind. Even though 95% of language is body language and 5% is verbal, still in all, that leftover 5% completes the 100. I know a lot of y'all can feel a lot of y'all saying, well, body language is more than anything. You're absolutely correct. But even though that verbal communication, which is only 5%, it maintains, you can see how important it is, how communication is important. So that 5%, sometimes the minute is the most potent, the most concentrated aspect of that situation. The minute. Because there's no action without the minute. 95% is your subconscious, 5% is your conscious living reality. But if your conscious living reality does not animate the action of the 95%, then 95% is non-void. So just because it's 5% as far as verbal communication, that 5% still completes the 100%. And I'm going to keep it there for now. There's going to be a part 2. But I'm going to keep it there for now. You guys chew on that for now. Marinate on that. And I will see you guys in the next moment. I'll see you guys in the next video. And the rest of y'all, my students and detainees, I see y'all in class this Sunday. Y'all know what's up. Have them notes ready and have that mind sharp. And as we continue. Don't forget to check out the website. Appreciate y'all for supporting the website and my Cash App up. I do this for y'all. This is literally like 3 a.m. in the morning, but the spirit wakes me up and it says get up. I get up and I don't question it. And I get the message out and convey the light to y'all. I do this for y'all. Appreciate it as well in return. And the packages will be going out either today or tomorrow for you guys that ordered. Y'all really ordering, man. Y'all on my website like Amazon. I appreciate that. Because I get Amazon with the knowledge. So all fours in line. As you are.